Good morning, everybody. Welcome to another episode of Dropping the Gloves. Thanks for joining us here today. Tim, how's it going, my man?
I'm doing good. How was your weekend?
It was good. Yeah, nice weekend. Decent weather. Nothing too exciting to report about. What about you?
Nothing. Went for a hike, as I do every weekend in your eyes, but it was nice, and the weather's definitely cold now, which is really good. I've been missing that, so it's nice to wear the layers and the pants again.
Oh, good. Yeah, I had my nice Saturday where I just took on all my chores around the house, got it all buttoned up, ready for winters, but it was good. All right, I'm excited to get into the show. A lot of people have been wondering, Tim, how the chickens are doing. I actually just got off the phone with the animal control guy. He just didn't just show up at my house. He was scheduled to be there last week, but everybody's always on vacation when we want to talk to him. So he was on vacation, came back. We're trying to get a gambling sponsor. And I've been trying to get a hold of this guy from one of the companies. And he's like, I'm on vacation. He's always on vacation. Nobody work these days, Tim? Everybody's just always on vacation.
No one works as hard as we do. That's for sure.
I'm not saying I work hard, but I don't go on vacations. Actually, I shouldn't say that. But anyway, so the officer was at the house and he was just trying to get his head wrapped around on what happened, how many chickens we lost, where the dog come from. And then I start feeling like a jerk. It's like, should I be doing this? Reporting it. And so there's that area of, should we just suck it up and not put it on record? You know what I mean? Because the officer's like, well, we could charge him with a misdemeanor. We could fine him, or we could just give him a verbal warning. And my wife's like, misdemeanor, let's go. And I said, let's just do a verbal warning this time and just kind of get the word out there that we're not taking this lightly anymore. So that's what we're going to do. And we're going to get some recuperation for the chickens that we lost. And so he'll give us some money, and not much, like $100, $200. So I don't know. But yeah, it was interesting talking to a police officer. But is animal control police officer? I don't think they really are. I don't think he has a gun. I wasn't there.
Yeah, I don't know. Did you end up speaking with your neighbors again after we recorded? Because you said you were about to give them like another. You call it a warning. I don't know what.
I have not spoken to him yet. I've been meaning to call him. It's Monday, so I'm gonna give him a call. I'm gonna apologize. I think that's the route I'm gonna go. I'm gonna say
What
I'm
about the
sorry
guy
for being
across the
so
street?
fired up. The guy, I got to talk to him. My wife's more concerned about him because he's got a pit bull, and I'm not trying to like just categorize all dogs and put them all under the same umbrella like pit bulls. But pit bulls are they're scarier. They're legitimately a different breed. Like you don't mess. My older brother Jamie, he had a pit bull growing up, Sasha. That dog scared me so much. I would not go in the same room with it. It was the scariest dog I've ever seen in my life. And I just did not trust it. You know when you like a dog looks at you, it's like this dog is gonna rip my throat out. And that was one of those dogs. So, and that's the dog across the street, Tim. It just the kids will go get the mail, and it'll sit there and growl. And I'm like, oh man, if that dog ever did anything to my kids, you ever? Well, you don't have kids, but there's just constant worry that there's something's going to happen on your watch that's you could have prevented. So I need to go over there and talk to them and say, hey, your dog's making us nervous. We want to make sure it's on a leash in your yard because it's ran on. Anyways,
Yeah.
it's progressing. So, but it's like, you ever see those Reddit things like, am I the a-hole?
Yeah. Yeah.
Am I the jerk for escalating this to this level? Right? Or I don't feel like I am, but
They
I feel like
killed
it
a
has
bunch
to.
of chickens, you know, so it's not like
I could
what
care less about the chickens at the end of the day. Like they're just animals. You know what I mean? That it's not that. It's the human aspect. If that dog touches my kids, then I'm going to jail for 15 to 20 because I'm going on a murder spree. Right?
what for first of all, we got a lot of positive feedback about that one. People love Sunset and Jane. Is that their name? Sunshine? Um,
Sunset and Jane, yeah.
Sunset, yeah. But the last remaining piece that we didn't know is how the one that you weren't sure was going to recover or not, that you decided to give it some time. What happened there?
You know what? I'm glad I gave her some time. She's coming around. She stayed in the coop for the last couple days. She took it easy inside the coop. And I tell you what, I did some major upgrades to the coop. So it was always on a slight angle down. So I went out on Saturday and I jacked it up. I had a big 8,000-pound farm edition jack from Harbor Freight that I jacked up the coop, and I put more fencing around the bottom so nothing can get underneath, and I fortified it a little more. But the chicken, Ava said that it was out today. So it got out of the coop and it's walking around in the run, which is good because the last 2 days it just kind of sat in the coop, and it would eat and drink when we went in there to check on it. But yeah, it's just if you catch it at the right angle, you can see where the dog had grabbed it, and there's like a hole in the cartilage from the wing to the neck. So it's not good, Tim. It's still really, really bad. I don't think she's going to be laying for a long time, any foreseeable future of laying. The eggs have stopped. These chickens are traumatized, so we had to buy eggs on Sunday. I was so mad. My wife's like, I need to go into the store to get some eggs. I'm like, son of a beeswax. Really? Got 10 chickens not laying because that stupid dog. But anyway, so let me know if I'm the jerk here in the comments, because I want to know, because should I or should I have gone the full extent of the law? Like, I could have gone after him with a misdemeanor. And the officer was like, you will win. This is a clear-cut case. This was his fault. The dog was off the leash. It went on your property, and it caused significant damage. And you have some civil end here because your kids are scared to go outside now. So you could really take this to the extent that you wanted to take it and bury this guy. You could have the dog put down probably. You could take him to court. You would win. But we didn't want to go that route. But we still called the cops. We called animal control. So I don't know, Tim.
I like the route you went. The verbal warning, letting him know that you're dead serious about it without having to take that next step. You know, if it happens again, then he's going to get the full extent of the law. I think that's fair.
I agree. Speaking of warnings, and speaking of sending a message, Jim Montgomery this weekend sent a message to the captain of the Boston Bruins, David Pastrnak. Is he the captain?
Nope.
Marchand's the captain.
Alternate. Yeah.
He's an alternate captain. I don't know why I said that. It just came slipping out of my mouth. He sent a message to his best player on the team, David Pastrnak, leading scorer, superstar. He benched him, Tim, in the third period of a game they needed to win, a game they should have won versus the Anaheim Ducks because of a costly turnover on the power play. Not costly in the sense of they got scored on versus the Seattle Kraken, but just like a very just low-effort turnover that David Pastrnak made. Benches him for the whole third period. You're a Bruins guy. We talked about them at length last show about how they're a sinking ship. This team is just it's not a good team top to bottom. They have one or two superstars, and it's very thin after that. The defense is not what it once was. And Jeremy Swayman is looking very pedestrian after signing that big ticket. Why would you bench your best player? What message does that send to the rest of the team? Is this Jim Montgomery grasping at straws, trying to get a handle on this team even though he's already lost it? He's trying to show some semblance of this is my team, I'm in control?
No. Well, first of all, the Bruins are 2-0 since we recorded that show. 2 wins, 2 shutouts. 2 shutouts, John. I don't care who they're against. Okay. So it's a nice little turnaround there. Small sample, but heading in the right direction.
No.
Yeah, I'm on board with the benching. The play you're talking about was 2-0 at the end of the second period. Bruins are on the power play, and he's trying to skate through someone's legs in the neutral zone for no reason. Just a stupid play, the things that like you'd see from a rookie who's trying the same things that used to work in juniors or college, and it doesn't work in the NHL. Pastrnak should know better. I don't know what he's thinking. He's been a little bit reckless all season long. And even in that game, he had 3 turnovers through the first 2 periods. So this was a problem for him, and Montgomery didn't like what he saw and sent a message saying, he told him, I'm assuming in the locker room between periods, you're done for the night. And so he did not see the ice again for the rest of the third period, the whole rest of the game. The Bruins held on to the lead. It was a good one. And I was reading about it, and Pastrnak still was vocal on the bench. He was cheering his teammates on. He wasn't slumping over his shoulders or complaining or sending out tweets or whatever. He handled it pretty well. He handled it well, and even Charlie Coyle said there's no special treatment for anyone. I think that's how it should be. So Pastrnak, I don't care who you are. If you're not going that night, then you're not going. And so I think that's a good message from Montgomery, and it worked out well.
Yeah, I went back and forth on this, wrestling with was he just trying to make a point and save his job? Because he's on the hot seat right now, Jim Montgomery. Everybody knows it. He knows it. So he's trying to just show some semblance of, I'm in control here. This is my team. Nobody gets a free pass. But at the other side of the coin, you can't bench your best player for a long period of time. You need wins at this point in the season. You're fighting for a position right now in the playoffs, even though it's super early. Like every game counts. So I went back and forth on this, and I think I sided with Jim Montgomery. I think he did the right choice here, the right decision. You have to sit him down, show that you are in control of the team, and like you said, nobody gets a pass based on their contract. So it was a good message. I like how Poster responded. If all accounts are true, good for him, because a lot of guys would have pouted. A lot of guys, in that division would not have taken it the same way. I'm looking at the Toronto Maple Leafs, because that's you compare it to like teams, and the Toronto Maple Leafs are always compared to the Bruins, and those guys would have been pissing and moaning the whole time being benched. But good for him, good for the Bruins. I'm not drinking the Kool-Aid just yet. They beat the Philadelphia Flyers and the Seattle Kraken. Two terrible teams. So let's just not start planning the parade just yet. This team still has a lot of issues, and it's not like they waxed them, Tim. It's 2-0, right? Both games. So they're not scoring a ton. Their defense played a little better versus subpar competition. The Philadelphia Flyers, other than the rookie, I always butcher his name. What's it? Mishkov? He's really their only offensive threat. And the Seattle Kraken, just nobody's scared of anybody on that team. I've said it for years. They have a good third-line team. Everybody on that team is a good third liner. Maybe a second liner with Matty Beignets. Yeah, maybe. But they're not like an offensive juggernaut. So let's just see how the Bruins do against some actual competition before we start saying, oh, they're back. This team is back. This week will say a lot, where they play the Toronto Maple Leafs, they play the Calgary Flames, they get the St. Louis Blues, they get the Ottawa Senators, the Dallas Stars. Now we're getting into some competition, to the meat of the schedule, so to speak, for the Boston Bruins, where we'll really get a firm handle on this team. But I still think, Tim, even after 2 straight wins, this team is destined for failure this year, unfortunately for you. And I'm not wrong a lot.
Well, yeah, we can debate about that. I mean, yeah, I don't want to spend a ton of time on the Bruins' 2 wins in a row, other than small sample size, like we said. I just want to point out that we said last week how tight the division in the conference was, and how a win here and there could have vaulted them, and it happened. 2 wins in a row jumps you from last in the Atlantic to a second wild card spot. You jumped over 4 teams in your own division, as well as several teams in the Metro. So they're going to be just fine, I think. It's just a matter of I think they're a playoff team, maybe a wild card team. Who knows what happens in the playoffs? I think that's fair. The last thing I want to mention about the Montgomery thing is that I really like that he didn't take to the press to elevate this and blow this out of proportion. He was asked about the benching in the third period, because the question was like, was he hurt, whatever, and he said, quote, "It was a coach's decision," and wouldn't comment beyond that. I think that's the right thing to do. You don't make a mountain out of a molehill. You've sent a message already at this point, and you move on as a team.
Yeah, but then right after that, Don Sweeney and Cam Neely had an impromptu press conference, and they called out David Pastrnak for his work ethic, and they really elevated it to a different level, because that's what they do to their star players. They want to
renegotiate his contract now.
Yeah, they're going to call him out. They're going to offer him 5 years for $1 million a year. But no, I think you're right. I think this is handled well internally. Pasta responded well. I would love to get him on the show. He seems like such a great guy. Like, just a good, solid guy to be around. Doesn't take himself too seriously. And this is uncharacteristic of him. I think he was just trying to do too much. Putting the team on his back, wanted to, succeed. And it just didn't happen. And thankfully, the Seattle Kraken cannot score any goals. So Yanni Gourde couldn't finish in the shorthanded chance that he gave him. But anyways, moving on. I'm going to eat some crow here. I'm fully prepared to eat a lot of crow. Alex Ovechkin is on pace for 98 points this year. He's on pace for 48 goals. He is absolutely tearing it up. He's got goals in 4 straight, 5 in his last 4, 7 goals on the season. 52 goal pace? I thought it was only 48 goal pace.
That was before he scored the second goal of the night.
Oh my gosh. No, he's playing well. He's playing very, very well. And I've been watching a little bit of the Caps this year, because they're a fun team. They got Michigan Tech alum Matt Roy on it, friend of the show. So I've been keeping up. And I always check the box scores, because I want to see if Ovi's scored. And they score a ton of goals, these Washington Capitals. They're not winning 2-1 games. It's 7-4. It's 6-2. Those are the games that they're having. And Ovi's always on the score sheet. What I've noticed from Ovi, he looks fast. He looks engaged. He looks like the Ovi of young, of 5, 6, 7 years ago. Last year, it seemed like he was skating in quicksand. He was always behind the play. He just kind of posted up on the power play, wasn't rotating or moving, getting in the forecheck. Doesn't it seem to you that he's just skating a lot better this year?
He is. Did you see that clip of him diving on the back check in that game yesterday? Like he's
No.
moving around. There's this little like narrative that at this point of his career and much of the earlier career, he likes to he doesn't skate a ton, right? He sets up in his office, he waits for his shot, and I think that was I wouldn't say the problem, but that was certainly the case for a lot of the last 2 seasons. Whether it was injury or age catching up to him or something, he wasn't moving as much as he did before. We all saw it, but this year he seems to have bounced back. So whether he put down the Cheetos or whether he changed his offseason regimen, whether he sees the goal record in striking distance now and there's something motivationally happening there, whatever it is, it's working. And the Capitals look great around him, but not just an Ovi story, but it's looking like he could break it this season, John, if he continues doing what he's doing.
Yeah, I I do think he will break it. I will say that now.
Wow.
What he's done last year and this year, unless he collapses for the rest of the season and only scores 10 more goals and he's left with 25, but like how can you debate how good he's been? He's been absolutely incredible, and I think it just goes to show you as a whole what the Washington Capitals have done since 2008 winning the Stanley Cup. They had a couple lean years after that where I just think they climbed that mountain, they won the Stanley Cup, they slayed the dragon, and they were just exhausted. And they took a couple steps back. From then on, they've systematically and really smartly built this team into a contender again. Now they're 8-3, like you said, in the Metro, and they are one of the more dangerous teams in the league. I wouldn't put them in Stanley Cup contender category just yet, but they were able to take a team that was destined for 4, 5, 6 years of cap hell, paying the aging vets, slowly trying to rebuild, much like what we've seen the Pittsburgh Penguins in the last couple of years. The San Jose Sharks are going through it. The Chicago Blackhawks are going through it. They've avoided that for the most part. And now all of a sudden, they're in the mix for first place in the Metro. They're in the mix for the best team in the East, and they've done it through smart signings and free agency, smart trades, and good draft picks. Just good old-fashioned developing the old-fashioned way where you find guys second, third, fourth round in the draft, and you develop them, and then they become really good NHL players. Like their first line, Tim, the Connor McMichael, the Alex Courtois, those are just draft picks from 2019 that have all of a sudden developed, and now they're good, solid NHL players. They found guys through free agency. Dylan Strome, the Chicago Blackhawks did not want to sign him in 2022 for $2.2 million. They could have got him. And the Blackhawks just said, no, we're going to let him walk. Like, what? And now Dylan Strome is the first line for the Washington Capitals and playing fantastic hockey on a really team-friendly deal. And he's still young. And he's motivated. And he's only making $5 million a year. Like, there's decisions like that from GMs where you just scratch your head. It's like, I could have had him for 2.2 and then lock him up long-term for probably 3-4 million. And that's my second-line center for the next 5 years. And Dylan Strome, third overall draft pick a couple years ago to the Arizona Coyotes. I played with him. He's a great player. So great signing there, and then finding value where other guys can't find value. And a Pierre-Luc Dubois, he's playing pretty good. Everybody criticized that move. He's playing great. You bring in Mangiapane, he's playing great. You revamp your back end. Chychrun and Roy. It does help, Tim, that they have a boatload of money on LTIR. That obviously helps. Sorry, you want to say something? I'm cutting you off here.
No, I mean, no, you're making great points. It's just it's a great lineup, and I think we kind of underestimated going into the season some of the smaller names. We see Ovechkin, we see Strome, we see Carlson, we see Chychrun, whatever. I don't think any of us, you or I, took Connor McMichael very seriously. We didn't see Protas and say, okay, there's a gamer, there's a point per game guy, which he is so far. And even some of the depth players are playing pretty well. And Nick Dowd has 6 points. And so there's a lot to like here. There's a few things that scream, I would say scream, but whisper maybe of a little bit of a reset back to the mean. And one of the things is their shooting percentage. they've got a whole bunch of guys at 20 or around or above 20%, including all the guys we just mentioned. That's kind of including Ovechkin. That might come down just a little bit, just as averages over the course of the season. But there's a lot to be excited about, and not to mention on the back end, the goaltending. Logan Thompson, their new piece acquired from Vegas, 5-0 on the year. He's 5-0 with the goals against in the twos, and save percentage is just okay, 894, but he's won 5 games. And that's the important thing. So, yeah, there's a lot to like about this team, and there's a few other pieces that, like, if they can get Pierre-Luc Dubois more involved in the offense, it's going to be even better.
Yeah, and the 2 stud defensemen they bring in, Chychrun and Roy, are on the LTIR. So they're doing this without their 1-2. Another D-man they got from the Toronto Maple Leafs, Rasmus Sandin. He's playing great. It's these little moves where a team gives up on a player, a Dubois, a Sandin, and you all of a sudden bring him in and give him a chance to shine and give him the platform to do what he does, and he just explodes into the scene. So I like this team. I think they're really good. And Logan Thompson, I think we brushed over it a little bit too lightly. This guy was a starter for the Vegas Golden Knights, the Stanley Cup winning Vegas Golden Knights. He's a great goaltender. I said it, I think, at the start of the season. This was their single best signing or trade. They got him for 2 third-rounders. The guy makes $700,000. Tim, $700,000. He's going to have a great season. They'll re-sign him for $3-4 million for 5 years. And this is your goalie. Lock him in. He is a huge part of this team. I know his save percentage isn't right where it should be, but he's a big body, 6'3", 6'4". He moves around fairly well, and he makes $700,000. It's absolutely bonkers that they were able to get him from the Vegas Golden Knights. I don't understand Vegas's reasoning in trading him, but c'est la vie. I don't really know how the Knights are really, really good, but sometimes they make moves. I'm like, what are we doing over there? But it's working out for them. But yeah, back to the Capitals. I'm eating crow. This is a good team. I was critical of them for the last few years, rightfully so. They were garbage, but all of a sudden, and maybe it's a case, Tim, and maybe this is me just kind of saving face. The East is hot garbage, right? Like, it's absolutely atrocious what's going on in the Eastern Conference right now. The Flyers suck. The Islanders are terrible. The Penguins are in disarray. The Blue Jackets have no talent. The Devils can't seem to string anything together. The Canadiens are garbage. The Sabres stink. The Red Wings suck. The Senators are so-so. The Bruins are on the decline. The Toronto Maple Leafs are internally just a dumpster fire. The only teams that are consistent right now are the Panthers and the Rangers and the Hurricanes. So is this a case of maybe the Capitals taking advantage of the situation? I think maybe a little bit. Rightfully so. Good for them, but they're doing a good job for the people who were there playing, but it's like, who's the smartest at a dummy conference?
Well, okay, that might be fair, but I don't want to gloss over the fact that you have been now for 4 years talking about Ovechkin will not break the record.
2.5
You've hung your hat on it.
You have
put your reputation in the balance, and now you're saying that he's going to do it as soon as this year. I need to hear that from you.
Not this year. He's not doing it this year. I think he gets within 10 to 15, and then he gets it next year. I think he scores 20 more goals this year. I don't think he stays on this pace. He's not scoring 50 goals. I think he gets to 25, 30. There's no way he can stay at this pace. It's just inconceivable. He's too old. All right, let's move on. Indochino, everybody. You can't go wrong with a classic suit. You got to look nice. I've been on TV. I do charity events. You have to look good. That's why Tim and I have partnered with Indochino.
Yeah, so the last time we talked about this a few weeks back, we talked about the suits that we've worn and ordered, and I showed the one that I got at the wedding, 4 or 5 years ago. Beautiful, like really fits really well. You can see you choose your own liner. You have the inseam and the inscription and all that. They have more than just suits. They have shirts, they have jackets, they have pants, casual, premium, luxury, whatever you're looking for, they have. They actually hooked us up. I got a shirt a few weeks back. It's a very simple, kind of like a tan.
Props.
The earth tone's very, very in right now. It's a summery shirt. It's light, very comfortable. I kind of they have so much good stuff. It took me like 20, 25 minutes just to browse and figure out which one I wanted. And it took me just as long to narrow down from 4 or 5 choices down to one because they had so much good stuff. But I like this, especially living in a warm weather area. I know it's cool right now, but I've been wearing this for a few months now, and it's really nice. It's light fitting. Indochino is great. And so it's a very easy process. You just kind of go and pick out what you want. and then you customize it. So they actually, customize every single piece for you. They tailor it to your fit, your body, the way that you like your clothes to hang on you. And it's really good. I'm looking forward to wearing it. Julia likes it, most importantly, which is
Ooh.
really, really good for me. So this is what I got. And John, I know you don't have your prop ready, but what did you order when you picked out yours?
Yeah, just a long sleeve button up. It was nice. Mine was. It took me a little bit longer to get my measurements because I didn't have someone to measure me. But they asked for all the measurements. You order it, and it came. And usually I'm a tough fit because of my body type. It fits like a glove. They nailed it. The sleeves, the neck, the length, the everything. The cut was fantastic. I did a little monogram on the cuff, JHS, classic little touch that not a lot of people do. So it's a good company. We don't partner with garbage companies, and Indochino is a good company. This fall, you should update your wardrobe to quintessential suiting elements with contemporary flair from Indochino. Visit Indochino.com and use code GLOVES to get 10% off any purchase of $399 or more. That's 10% off at Indochino.com, promo code GLOVES, or just check out the show notes for more details. All right, moving on to another team I wanted to touch on before we get going to quick hits and all that stuff is the Colorado Avalanche. We talked about them at the start of the season. This team's going to be a wagon. They're going to be good. Look for them to bounce back after a subpar year last year, getting bounced in the playoffs in the first round. Not this year. They're gonna have a good year. Landeskog's going to be back. Look out, Nichushkin's going to shake off the offseason troubles. Makar, McKinnon, Rantanen. Well, that's why you play the games. And the Colorado Avalanche have just struggled all season long. And they've struggled right where you would think they would struggle, keeping the puck out of the net. This is a team that can score with the best of them. They have arguably the best first line in hockey. You got Rantanen, you got McKinnon, you can put Lycan in there, you got Casey Middlestead, they got Kurvanta. Their defense, Tim, other than Makar and Girard and Taves, has been very porous, has been very pedestrian. They get scored on at will all the time. They are, as of today, the worst defensive team in the league. They have given up the most goals in the NHL. They went on a minor winning streak last week where they won 4 in a row versus subpar competition. They beat the San Jose Sharks, they beat the Anaheim Ducks, the Seattle Kraken, and the Utah Hockey Club. Big deal. Oh, and the Ottawa Senators. 5-game winning streak. That's their only wins this whole season. They've regressed back. They've lost the last few, and they're getting shelled by the Chicago Blackhawks, by the Tampa Bay Lightning. When they lose big. They don't lose 3-2. They don't lose 2-1. They're losing 5-2, 6-2, 8-4, 6-1. Are you ready to admit that the Avalanche they're done? It's unfortunate because if everybody is healthy, if everybody's on the ice, this team is dangerous. Like I said, you don't have Landeskog, you don't have Nichushkin, Miles Wood is out, Ross Colton is out, Drouin is out, Tucker Poolman is out. So they have a good team on paper, but no one's ever healthy. Everyone's out of the game. Their goaltenders are suspect. Bringing Georgiev over from the Rangers was supposed to fix that. Has not fixed it. Are you ready to concede? Not really concede, but just admit that this team is a lottery team, like I said 2 weeks ago.
Yeah, John, this injury bug that has hit this team is the worst in the league, and there's not even really a second place. Like at one point, they had I think 7 out of their top 9 forwards were out of the lineup. Some IR, some day to day, whatever. Like Oliver Kylington played forward last week because they didn't have 12 forwards that could skate. And the guys that are playing, you have fourth liners playing the top 2 roles. You have minor leaguers in the lineup every single night. Yeah, Gabe Landeskog was a question mark. He missed all of last season too, so we can kind of throw that out the window. Nichushkin, we know the deal with him. He's rumored to be coming back soon. It hasn't happened yet. Lakeinen is back, but he missed most of the season so far. Ross Colton was one of the best stories in the league. He just went down. He's out for weeks. Jonathan Duran hasn't played. You mentioned Miles Wood missed a bunch of time, and you have guys in the back end missing time too. Tucker Poolman on the IR. So, this is a lineup that has been devastated by injuries. So to call them a bad team or a lottery team or a team with its best days behind them, all this stuff, I know you're looking at me like this. This is a team that should be very good, and they're not. And so if Florida Panthers suddenly miss Kachuk and Barkov and all these other Bobrovsky long term for months at a time, and the lineup gets devastated, are you going to talk about how this team was a terrible team to begin with? No, it's just a bad injury bug.
Let me
That's
stop
all
you
it is.
there. So just say the Panthers lose Barkov and Kachuk. Guess who steps up to fill those spots? It's Anton Lundell. It's Eetu Luosterainen. It's proven NHL players who can get the job done. It's Jesper Boqvist. Just say the Dallas Stars lose their top line. Hence, Stankoven, Marchment. You have White Johnson. You have Dadonov. You have...
No, you lose those guys. You lose all of them. 7 out of their top 9 forwards were out of the lineup, John. I'm not talking about 2 guys. You lose Barkov and Bennett and Verhaeghe and Reinhart and Kachuk, and then see how many games you win.
BS! They've lost those caliber of players. They still have McKinnon. They still have Ranson, and they still have
Landeskog,
Casey Middlestat.
Laakkonen, Colton Ross, Duran, all those guys were out.
Duran's not a top 6 guy, but I get it. You knew Landeskog wasn't going to be here. He wasn't there last year, so I think he's the outlier. He doesn't really count. And Nichushkin was out also. Huge question marks on him. I think this is a bad management by this GM, a bad management by this team, and they have no signs of getting better. That's the scary part here. Even if Landeskog comes back, even if Drouin comes back, even if Nichushkin comes back, the core problem with this team is the defense. It's the back end. How do you fix that? The goaltenders are trash. The defense is porous. I truly, and I really mean this, this could be a lottery team this year. They could be a bottom 3 team. Right there with the San Jose Sharks, right there with the Chicago Blackhawks, the Anaheim Ducks of the world. They are that bad this year. Now, if everybody comes back healthy, they won't be. But I don't think Landeskog is going to come back. I don't think they'll rush him back for nothing. And I don't know what the hell is going on with Valeri Nichushkin. Nobody knows what's going on there. So this team has no help on the way. And they're in salary cap hell. And they have 2 of the best players in the world with Makar and McKinnon. So I just think we can't gloss over that. They're in trouble, Tim. There is no signs of them winning. They won a couple games, which they should have won versus bad teams, but they're right back to who they are. They can't keep the puck out of the net. They can score goals. You know, they're good at scoring goals, putting the puck in the net. But this team will be the last place team in the Central Division.
Yeah, I was looking at the standings this morning. I think the Central is probably the strongest division right now.
It's a wagon, like you said.
Yeah, they're looking really good. And even the Blackhawks have won 2 in a row, and the Nashville can't possibly be this bad. I don't know. I hope not. I think it's not too soon to say. They played 12 games. You know what I mean? Like, anything can happen, obviously, but I think you're right in the sense that they're not going to be a playoff team. This season could essentially be over for them, which feels silly to say when they're 5-7. You know what I mean? Like, they're 2 games under 500. This is not – there are teams that are 5-7 that are going to win a playoff round. You know what I mean? Like, it's very easy to have a comeback this early in the year. But when you have that many injuries, like, the runway just gets really, really short.
You think a team right now that's under 500 will win a playoff series?
Sure. I mean, this is off the cuff, but let me pull up the –
All right. San Jose, Anaheim, Seattle. No. Nashville, Colorado, Chicago. It's Nashville could be the one that comes in. But in the Eastern Conference.
The Islanders could.
Gosh, Tim, you're smoking crack. Not a chance. Stop it. Those teams won't even make the playoffs. Islanders, Penguins. Well, the Sabres are gonna make a run.
This is the year for the Sabres, I'm telling you.
Stop it. Stop it. I know you're just trying to argue with me, but there's no way. No how that any of these teams that are under 500 right now will win a playoff series. The Nashville Predators are the only one that if they get their act together, they potentially could. You know what? Enough with the Avalanche. Next show, we'll talk about it. Kirill Kaprizov. Can we anoint him as the best player in the NHL? The rise that he's having with the Minnesota Wild, the players that he's playing with, the minutes that he's logging, it's amazing what he's doing. He is the sole focal point of every team who plays the Minnesota Wild. And he produces, and he does it 5-on-5, and he does it on the power play. It really is amazing what he's doing. So we're going to have to focus on him a little bit. Matt Zuccarello, 37 years old. Marco Rossi, really good young centerman. But still, He's not playing with superstar level players, and he's just tearing up the league right now. Leading the league in points, good for him. All right, I think that's enough, Tim. Is there anything else you want to touch on? Maybe the CTE thing?
Yeah, I just wanted to share that the NHLPA Executive Director Marty Walsh announced over the weekend that the Players Union had formed a CTE advisory committee, the first formal recognition in the hockey world of a devastating disease caused by repeated blows to the head. So I'm surprised that this hadn't been a thing previously, with all the talk about CTE. And so I wonder if we see how this impacts like concussion spotting and that sort of thing, or recoveries and how the league handles that sort of thing moving forward. So the committee's the first step. We'll see whatever comes out of that.
Well, the league never wanted to acknowledge it because of culpability and of lawsuits and of just being responsible for what happened to their employees, which are the players. So there was always this gray area of Gary Bettman. Whenever he would do an interview, you would notice he would never admit the connection between hockey and CTE. It was always a gray area. The science is still out. We don't know, what causes this and that. So this is a big step for the NHLPA to do this because it puts the pressure on Gary Bettman to acknowledge that, okay, the NHL does cause concussions, and in turn, concussions cause CTE. I'm sure I have it. It's just one of those things. It's a very scary thing. A lot of my good friends have died and took their lives because of it, and it's such a new thing on the block that no one really knows much about it. I've talked to people who are just so over the top in it that it's almost distracting and it takes away from, I don't know, it's such a gray area or a strange thing to talk about because hockey players know the risks. There's massive rewards for playing the NHL financially and just the fame that comes along with it and adulation that I think people just, I don't know. I don't know where I stand on the issue, Tim. I really don't. I'm assured I have CTE. 100% assured. Sometimes I fly off the handle for no reason whatsoever. And then you catch yourself and you go, whoa, that was a little over the top. And I didn't get that many concussions. I was lucky enough to kind of stay away from that. And it happens a lot in juniors. It happens a lot when they're younger, where they're affected by, like Dan Carcillo, prime example. I think he's drinking too much of the Kool-Aid, or it's just like it's become his life. And good for him. He's championing a cause. But this is a good step for the NHLPA to take a stand on this and say, okay, this is an issue. We have to protect the players. So we'll see what comes of it. I was not a part of this committee, as you can tell, but I'm interested to see where this heads because a lot of times they just do it for, signaling, just like, oh, yeah, we're doing something for sure. Nothing comes of it. I hope they take the next step and just say, okay, if you have a problem, here's an avenue out of it. There's no real cure for it. That's the thing. And the players want to stay on the ice, and it's just such a weird dynamic. Because you say you have a concussion, you're out of the game, you're out of the lineup, and then someone takes your spot and then they run with it, especially third and fourth line guys. That's where the major issue is. You can't say you have a concussion, then you're out of the lineup for 2 weeks, then you might never get back in. So I know I've gotten concussions and I haven't said anything because I'm nervous about my job. Get paid a lot of money. You don't want to lose that job. And for a kid who's new into the lineup, what would you do, Tim, in that situation? Just so you get called up from the AHL, you get your bell rung. Would you say, "Hey, I'm a little fuzzy," or would you keep your mouth shut, shake it off, and continue playing? Because if you're a little fuzzy and they put you in the dark room, then you got to go into concussion protocol. Then you're out for a week. Then you're being sent down again. Because
if I was 21 now, I think I would say something because of what we know. But if I was 21 10 years ago or 20 years ago, it's a different world and a different story. It's hard to say what we do, but it is a good step, and hopefully it turns into something productive and meaningful, and not just blowing smoke.
I do think 90% of the players now, if they are anything but a first rounder, unfortunately would just keep their mouth shut and just play through it. I don't know. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe things have changed, but you protect yourself so you stay in the lineup. I think that's the issue. Players want to stay in the lineup as bad as they can. But yeah, we'll see where this goes. It's a good step, like you said. All right, everybody. Thank you for joining us. Thank you for being listeners. We appreciate the support. We will talk to you guys next time. Cheers.